This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. Good evening. U.S. officials said today that Libya may already have begun producing material for chemical weapons. The State Department called on U.S. allies to cut assistance to Muammar Gaddafi's regime before it goes into full-scale production. So far, however, the allies are skeptical. West Germany said it is investigating some German businesses, but has found no evidence yet to verify the American suspicions. State Department correspondent Wyatt Andrews begins our report.
Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi calls this a simple pharmaceutical factory, and the U.S. today categorically said he's lying, that Gaddafi has control of a dangerous factory he has built to produce chemical weapons.
We have a major CW production facility that is on the verge of full-scale production, and I don't think among experts that there's any debate.
Sources tell CBS News of intelligence reports that the new factory can soon make up to 40 tons a day of simple mustard gas or a nerve gas called sarin, and that Gaddafi has already produced small test runs of a compound believed but not proven to be mustard gas. Sources say satellite photographs of the compound show it surrounded by a 40-foot-tall earthen wall, that it is ringed with Soviet-made surface-to-air missiles along with unusual concentrations of troops. It's said to be more heavily defended than any military installation in Libya.
Got air defenses around the facility, so it seems to me that it must be making chemical weapons.
It's new, it's large, and it does happen to be in the hands of a particularly irresponsible government.
That concern over Gaddafi owning chemical weapons was echoed today on Capitol Hill.
And giving Muammar Gaddafi a chemical capability under the pretext that is for the production of pharmaceuticals is equivalent to giving a flamethrower to a pyromaniac who promises to use it for cooking purposes.
There are contingencies for a military strike against this plant, but sources say the U.S. will try diplomacy first. And diplomats are convinced if they can stop the flow of Western know-how into Libya, they can stop Gaddafi without firing a shot. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, the State Department.
Officials at this chemical equipment factory in Strasbourg, France, today denied charges that they knowingly supplied Libya with material enabling it to produce chemical weapons.
We never supplied any equipment to Libyan. If somebody sell our equipment to Libyan, we don't know about that.
Throughout Western Europe, the U.S. claim about Gaddafi's chemical weapons program is being treated with caution. Officials here remember what happened after a terrorist bombing at a West Berlin club. One U.S. serviceman was killed and more than 200 were injured, including 60 Americans. The Reagan administration told the Western allies it had irrefutable evidence that Libya was behind the attack. Within days, the U.S. launched an airstrike against Libya from a British base, killing many civilians. Italian Foreign Minister Giulio Andreotti was told that the United States had ironclad evidence linking Gaddafi to the attack. But in Algiers last week, Andreotti said the U.S. later changed its story, saying Syria might have been responsible for the Berlin bombing. Officials and experts here say that, again, the U.S. evidence that Gaddafi is building a chemical weapons plant isn't strong enough.
The West Germans in particular, one of whose firms is alleged to have helped construct this plant, have said that they are looking into the matter, but on the evidence which Washington has come up with over several months, they don't believe the American case.
Even former U.S. government officials think President Reagan may be gunning for Gaddafi.
We've had a thing going with Gaddafi, and if in the last weeks of the Reagan administration he can do anything to put a nail in Gaddafi's coffin, I think he will.
The Europeans are afraid that Washington may be setting the stage for another attack on Libya, so they're now saying publicly that before anything like that happens, the U.S. should come up with a lot more proof to justify its action. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, London.
The White House said tonight that President Reagan will have surgery on his left hand Saturday. It's to correct a condition that affects his control over his ring finger. White House correspondent Bill Plant is traveling with the Reagans in Los Angeles and has more on that. Bill?
Bob, President Reagan will undergo a relatively minor operation early Saturday morning at Walter Reed Hospital in Washington to correct a problem known as Dupuytren's contracture. Medical literature describes the disease as a progressive but usually painless contraction of the fingers, primarily the little finger or the ring finger. Mr. Reagan's problem is with the ring finger on his left hand and is clearly visible in these recent pictures. The White House says he has had the condition for more than 8 years, but that over the past year it has progressed to the point that surgery is necessary. The operation, which the White House says will last 2 to 3 hours, removes the problem tissue at the first knuckle.
This disease is a benign fibrous tumor of the palm. It does not metastasize or go elsewhere in the body and is not life-threatening.
The president will not be under general anesthesia. Only his arm will be put to sleep. So there will be no temporary transfer of power to Vice President Bush. Bob?
Thank you, Bill. The 101st Congress convened for the first time today, mostly for ceremonies, swearing in the members of the new House and Senate. And as he helped swear in some of the senators today, President-elect George Bush took the opportunity to say again, no new taxes. Phil Jones has that report.
You are now members of the 101st Congress. Congratulations.
In the House, 33 new members joined the ranks of the 101st Congress today.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support...
In the Senate, there were 11 new politicians raising their hands to be sworn in. There was the traditional phone call notifying the president that Congress was back in town and ready for business. But in this case, it was more to say goodbye.
As I hand over the reins to George Bush in a few days, I'll leave Washington confident that with your support, he'll lead us in continued prosperity and peace.
And at least on the first day, congressional Democrats who control both the House and Senate were talking cooperation with incoming President George Bush.
I think it will be different, less confrontational. I hope there will be more consultation, more meaningful consultation.
Political goodwill between Democrats and Republicans was even evident on the Senate steps during the payoff of a friendly football wager between Vice President-elect Quayle and Senator Byrd on yesterday's Notre Dame, West Virginia Fiesta Bowl game.
This is the first spirit of genuine bipartisanship to be exhibited in the 101st Congress. And it may not be the last.
But on the number one priority facing the new president and Congress, deficit reduction, it was clear today that Democrats still aren't buying George Bush's claim that he can reduce the deficit without raising taxes.
I don't know how it can be done. If he thinks we can, we owe it to him to listen to him.
However, CBS News caught up with the vice president today, and he was not budging.
The American people heard it loud and clear, and I don't think anybody out there is rushing around trying to get a tax increase.
Another problem for the lawmakers is whether to raise their salaries to a recommended $135,000 a year. They all think they're worth it, but they're afraid the voters might not agree. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Word today that lawyers for Oliver North have subpoenaed more star defense witnesses for North's trial on Iran-Contra charges, this time including Secretary of State George Shultz, former Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger, and some unspecified members of the CIA. President Reagan and President-elect Bush were served with similar subpoenas last Friday. Defeated Democratic presidential candidate Michael Dukakis said today he will not seek a fourth term as Massachusetts governor, but he did not rule out another run for president in 1992.
I've learned occasionally painfully this never to say never in politics. But this decision is totally independent of any considerations of another tried national office.
Dukakis has another 2 years to serve on his current term as governor. Well, still to come on the CBS Evening News tonight, Richard Schlesinger on a new theory that the heat last summer, remember that, was not the greenhouse effect after all. And Richard Roth on why R2-D2, remember him, is not the model of a modern robot.
Everybody knows you can win $10 million from Publishers Clearinghouse this January 31st. But in the meantime, couldn't you use a new car? A brand new Jaguar! Now, only Jay can tell you how to win this car. Tell him, Jay.
Inside your envelope, the one with a house, are these 3 little car stamps. Pick your color and stick it on your official entry form.
Before you know it, you could be driving away in a brand new Jaguar.
Only from Publishers Clearinghouse.
Does your long distance sound bad? Now you can get long distance that sounds better for free. Switch to US Sprint and get 30 free minutes of crystal clear fiber optic long distance if you call Sprint now. So don't take it out on your phone. Take it out on your phone company. Call now and get 30 free minutes of fiber optic long distance calls only from US Sprint.
Miss. There are headaches. And headaches. There's aspirin and Anacin. The Anacin aspirin formula relieves headaches better than regular aspirin. Feel better?
Not just better, better.
Anacin, better relief.
If having oatmeal for breakfast gets a little boring, wake it up with Grape Nut cereal. Mix them up, then cook them up. Rev up the texture, turn up the flavor. Oomph up your oatmeal with Post Grape Nut cereal.
A NASA research plane took off from Norway today and headed for the Arctic. Its mission is to inaugurate a 6-week search for signs that the Earth is losing its protective ozone layer over that region. Loss of ozone was linked to last summer's devastating drought, but now, even as effects of the drought linger, scientists are raising new questions about its cause. Our coverage on that begins with Richard Schlesinger.
Fields baked in the unrelenting sun, scientists blamed the drought on global warming. They said worldwide pollution and ozone depletion had created a greenhouse effect on Earth. Today, scientists are saying less serious factors may be responsible.
We have found that by looking back at the tropical Pacific Ocean and the changes in the sea temperatures there, that they seem to have been a key link in setting up the pattern in the jet stream.
According to this theory, the cause of last year's drought was abnormal water temperatures in the Pacific Ocean along the equator. Last year, the water was colder than it had been. That set off a chain reaction in the atmosphere, which caused a series of high and low pressure systems, forcing the high-altitude river of air known as the jet stream to flow farther north than usual. Normally, the jet stream flows along the Canadian border and brings rain to the U.S. heartland. But last year, the jet stream was diverted to northern Canada, causing weeks of hot, dry, sunny days in this country's grain belt. The same conditions in the Pacific caused large amounts of warm water to pile up near Asia, and scientists now believe that is what caused last year's monsoons and devastating floods in Bangladesh.
When we see a pattern like this that seems to lock on, we have some hope that maybe we'll understand it well enough to develop some skill in predicting it in advance.
Scientists are still worried about the greenhouse effect, even though many say it did not cause last year's drought. The gradual warming of the atmosphere is a long-term problem that could cause serious weather changes in the next 10 or 20 years.
The greenhouse effect is expected to increase not only the temperature, but increase the probability and the frequency of droughts.
Scientists believe next summer's global weather pattern may be determined this spring by the temperature in the waters of the Pacific. But what determines that? No one knows. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
For a lot of Texas farmers, the drought of 1988 is threatening the crop of 1989.
As I told somebody the other day, they asked me how the situation was going. I said, well, it's bad and it's getting worse.
Medina County got just 13 inches of rain last year, less than half the normal amount. Now, Ralph Graff's oat fields are more field than oats.
There's not much green out there.
It's nothing there. What did come up died.
Here, the critical fall rains never came. Now, even moisture beneath the surface is gone, and that threatens the spring planting.
It's going to take probably 6 inches of rainfall, maybe more than that, between now and the 1st of March to be able to plant. And our chances of getting that probably aren't too good.
As drought conditions linger, disaster relief approved by Congress last summer is just becoming available in Texas. Last week, farmers in 89 counties became eligible for emergency loans. Texas officials estimate the losses from the drought at $1.5 billion and still rising.
But the thing that a lot of folks don't realize is if we don't get rain in 1989 is going to make 1988 look like a good year.
Farmers can only struggle the best they can until the rains come, but waiting is a luxury fewer and fewer can afford. James Hattori, CBS News, Hondo, Texas.
In and around Philadelphia today, a man in a stolen, unoccupied transit authority bus led police on a wild half-hour chase that left as many as 15 people injured. The chaotic ride through 3 counties finally ended when the bus crashed into a tree in front of a cheese shop. Before then, the bus hit 2 police cars and a police officer. As many as 12 cars ran into each other, either because the bus hit them or because they were trying to avoid the bus. A police officer, the suspect, and several motorists all suffered serious injuries.
When people count on you, count on Post-it brand notes.
If you love lots of shrimp, Red Lobster is going to make you very happy. Introducing the Shrimp Spectacular Platter, just $7.95. 4 ways to love shrimp, all on one plate. Crispy fried, spicy Cajun popcorn, zesty lemon pepper, and announcing our delicious new grilled shrimp. That's our Shrimp Spectacular Platter, just $7.95. Kid shrimp, $1.95. It's spectacular, now at Red Lobster. And for all your football parties, call for Party Platters to go, ready in just 1 hour.
Got a nice minty taste to it.
That's good.
Can you say that about your liquid antacid? If not, taste new Tums Liquid.
It has a nice taste to it. It's delicious. Tums tastes the best.
New Tums Liquid. It works, and it really tastes good.
With it, you can communicate instantly with anyone virtually anywhere in the world. With it, you can save time and money. Without it, you're just not dressed for business. The MCI card. It is America's business card.
Officials of the European Economic Community today put the final touches on plans to retaliate against the United States in a trade war by restricting the import of certain American goods. The dispute started with Europe's decision to ban U.S. beef treated with growth hormones, which some consumer groups say pose health hazards. But others charge the so-called food fight has less to do with health than it does with money. Frank Currier looked into that.
Jim Hill's huge cattle feedlot has been in his ranch family for 3 generations. So this week, when the Europeans slapped a ban on U.S. beef exports, Jim's mood turned as cold as the Iowa prairie.
I'm really surprised and disappointed that an agreement wasn't worked out.
The controversial ban, which could cost ranchers $160 million a year in business, centers on alleged health risks from these tiny yellow pellets. Growth hormones, routinely used by 9 out of 10 cattle feeders to fatten their steers by up to 50 pounds of lean meat.
That's all I've ever known. Anything that we stick in a feedlot gets implanted. It saves money.
Using these implants is probably the difference between making it and not making it in the cattle business.
Though just 80 cents worth of hormone pellets per animal can cut 2 weeks and $25 per head off the time and cost of feeding, the European community says that even trace amounts in beef consumed by humans is dangerous. And some consumer advocates in this country are urging shoppers to demand only hormone-free meat products. There is no solid scientific evidence that growth hormones are a health threat. The FDA says the allowable dose for cattle is microscopic when compared with amounts of the same hormone produced naturally by the human body.
If we're talking about 100 molecules that we produce in our body, we would be adding to that 0.0001 molecules. I think that's insignificant.
Scientists, ranchers, and economists all agree the ban has less to do with health than trade, as Europe moves to protect its own beef industry.
Not only is this an increase in terms of a trade barrier, but it has the potential for escalating well beyond that. So I think there is genuine reason for concern by U.S. people.
As the U.S. retaliates with new stiff tariffs on European food exports, Midwest cattlemen like Jim Hill feel squeezed in the middle of a transatlantic food fight that could escalate into a full-blown trade war. Frank Currier, CBS News, Ellsworth, Iowa.
This coupon is good for Danny Crawford. This coupon is good for Ron Shirazi. All these coupons are good. Good because they help Special Olympics. In your Publishers Clearinghouse mail, you'll find 30 coupons valued at over $9.50. For each one you redeem, Procter & Gamble will donate 10 cents to Special Olympics, up to $750,000. And that's good for Gary Johnson. Look for Procter & Gamble coupons. They're good for Special Olympics and you.
It took 2,000 years, but a revolutionary discovery is changing the way men think about coloring their gray hair. It's called Just for Men, from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, shampoo out. Your gray is blended away, leaving your natural-looking color. 5 minutes. Here, look at me. Just for Men leaves your hair looking healthy and fuller, and it won't fade or wash out. Just for Men, in the men's hair care section.
You're looking at a list of foods
that have more fiber per serving than prunes. Prunes, the high-fiber fruit.
Next time you get heartburn, consider yourself lucky, because now Rolaids comes in assorted fruit flavors, still calcium-rich, sodium-free, and as effective as ever. Assorted flavored Rolaids. Relief never tasted so good.
In Washington today, the Surgeon General warned that the country is facing an overwhelming moral, economic, and public health burden that our society can no longer bear, and he called on doctors to start treating it. Susan Spencer reports.
The puffy, disfigured face of Hedda Nussbaum, testifying at the trial of accused child murderer Joel Steinberg, brought home anew just how terrible domestic violence can be.
One of the things he used, he had an exercise bar that he would hit me over the head with.
In this country, no man has a license to beat and get away with it.
Surgeon General C. Everett Koop today called on doctors and specifically on obstetricians and gynecologists to join cops in the courts in helping women beaten by their spouses.
As many as 15 million adult women have been victims of battering, rape, and other forms of physical and sexual assault.
He just got crazy. He hit me on the head a couple times.
But when the evidence isn't obvious, when the situation doesn't involve the police, and when the woman is holding back, the Surgeon General said doctors have a responsibility to look for abuse. OBGYNs especially, because pregnancy often triggers it. The guidelines sent out today to 28,000 physicians urge them to be suspicious, for example, when a spouse comes along.
They want to stay with the woman when she gets her examination so they can hear what she says, and they can intimidate her into not accusing them of being the cause.
Some women feel guilty that somehow they might have caused the abuse, especially if their partners have continued to tell them it's your fault, it's your fault.
The Surgeon General emphasized that doctors must ignore such myths, that abuse is not the victim's fault, and that it can touch all classes and races. Physicians, he said, are not being asked to become social workers, but given the scope of the problem, they must become more involved. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
My favorite GM car I worked on. Kept it all these years, even after I retired. Every time my son looks at it, he smiles. Very popular at the time, I tell him. My boy's at GM now, building beauties like this one. One thing hasn't changed. We still build them to last.
GM cars have held their resale value better than any other U.S. make.
Wow.
What you eating, babe?
Nothing, honey.
Oh, you can tell me.
Kellogg's Nut and Honey Crunch. Looks good, Private. What is it? Nothing, honey.
Kellogg's Nut and Honey Crunch.
When you've got the special taste of nuts and honey all wrapped up in a hearty crunch, what more can you say? Here's what. New Nut and Honey Crunch biscuits. Crunchy biscuits of wholesome shredded wheat with that special nut and honey taste inside.
Wow.
Kellogg's Nut and Honey.
Now in biscuits, too.
Crunch.
Are you American Family's missing $10 million winner? And McMahon found me. You may be next. Find out fast, January 27th. American Family's Get Rich Night. 7 big prizes up to $10 million. I'll announce the 7 winning numbers on TV. You get 7 chances to win. So it's just like entering 7 sweepstakes all at once. In America's only sweepstakes with my picture. Imagine $10 million all for you. Enter today.
The word robot was introduced to the world in a 1921 drama called R.U.R. One of the play's characters is dedicated to the idea that humanity should be freed from the slavery of work. Things didn't work out so well in the play, and all these 3 decades later, high hopes and all, the promise of the robot remains pretty much a promise. Richard Roth reports.
It's been Hollywood's vision of the future for more than 30 years.
I am monitored to respond to the name Robbie.
From what the movies would have us believe, Robbie the robot would be close to retirement by now. R2-D2 would be beeping around every modern home. Instead, take a look at the real thing at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh.
Radio.
A mechanical arm to help the handicapped. A $50,000 machine with the personality of a pair of pliers. This is a state-of-the-art robot.
Get flour. Star Trek and the Bionic Man stuff is a little far-fetched. Make-believe land. This is reality land.
Reality land is an industry still in its infancy. More than 60 years after the word entered the language, robots are mostly still bolted to factory floors, welding autos or assembling appliances. Not at all what science fiction writers had envisioned.
When I see what they call robots, the first thought occurs to me is, well, it's not what I would call a robot.
In the stair-climbing mode...
It's not just a matter of appearance. As smart as the newest generation of computer-driven machines has become, the brightest personal service robots, according to an expert who designs them, have barely the intelligence of a worm.
What are these foolish clothings you are wearing?
Oh, attempt to look human, fit in, belong. Unsuccessful.
Unsuccessful so far because the marriage of computer science and robot technology is a hugely expensive venture and still highly experimental.
It's a mistake to suppose that anything we can imagine, we can do.
I don't think anyone really appreciated what the human brain can do until they tried to make a robot that would duplicate it.
And found it couldn't quite be done yet, appearances notwithstanding.
My name is Oscar from Promotional Robots.
A mechanical man that looks like an autonomous robot is really just a sophisticated marionette, with a human puppeteer controlling the electronic strings. The real robots aren't made to be cute or friendly, just practical. Still, a $100,000 electronic sentry has joined the security staff at Boston's Bayside Exposition Center, the guard of the future according to its human boss. And a Connecticut company has designed a robot serving cart scheduled to be on the job soon, delivering meal trays and supplies at a local hospital.
The nurse who requested the meal tray unloads it.
But at least one inventor believes full-service robots are coming next, programmed to automatically perform many tasks humans can't or don't want to.
I think that the role of a robot, a household robot, is essentially that of a slave. It's a 24-hour servant with no back talk. And it's there for you all the time, and it costs you $50,000.
But that kind of robot's not for sale yet. It doesn't exist, except in exhibit form, or in laboratories where the romantic idea of an independent robot is being realized, but very slowly. Richard Roth, CBS News, New York.
That's the news. Good night.
This is CBS.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, a robber told a convenience store clerk to get behind the counter. The clerk came up with a gun and started shooting. We'll tell you what happened. A report is out on the murder of a Cookeville convenience store clerk killed while police were guarding the store. And could a bomb get on a jetliner through the mail? The answer may surprise you. Those stories and the end of an era in Nashville music publishing, and the man in black is back. Eyewitness News.